Was your restaurant or business ordered to close by the government during the coronavirus pandemic? Call Ed Bernstein for a free business insurance policy review. You may be eligible to make a business interruption claim. Ed Bernstein and Associates, 702-240-0000.
It's the Ed Bernstein Show, Home Edition. Now, here's your host, Ed Bernstein.
Good afternoon, and continuing with our series on Meet the Judges and Meet the Judicial Candidates. With me today is District Court Judge Ron Israel, and a little bit later on in the show, Mickey Bohn, who's a candidate for District Court, will be on. Judge Israel, this is, almost 9-10 years you've been on the bench?
I'm in my 10th year, yeah.
You bring a lot of experience to the bench. You had years in civil litigation. And on the bench, you've tried, 100 cases or more?
Over 100 cases. Yeah.
Some of them very prominent cases. You were involved in the case against Dr. Desai, the endoscopy case, and what lasted months, that trial?
It did. I did the second endoscopy case, and it lasted almost 2 months and ended in a verdict somewhere around $200 million.
Well, when you have a trial that lasts that long, it must be really challenging to keep the jury involved, keep them motivated, keep them active and focused and paying attention.
It absolutely is. I don't know whether it helped or not, but we started a tradition. We got them donuts every Friday. And I can tell you at the end of the 2 months, they were all good friends, and they had a reunion like a year later because, they were together for so long. So yes, it was difficult, and we told them up front it's going to be that long, and they volunteered to do it.
And you handle both criminal cases and civil cases.
I have what's called a split calendar, so I do criminal, everything but homicides, and civil cases, of course, everything from contracts to personal injury to, you name it.
Yeah. What is more difficult as a judge? I know civil cases can tend to be more complicated, but criminal cases, the result of a criminal case tends to be more, life-shattering.
Well, it's their liberty. You're absolutely right. Their liberty is at risk. Generally, though, as far as the law goes, the civil cases tend to be more difficult. They're fighting over issues that don't always aren't always set by precedent. So we're looking at new issues in civil cases, I'd say more often than criminal. Criminal cases, unless there's something, and there are cases that set new precedent, of course, in criminal. But, if you're talking a typical case, there generally aren't a lot of issues in the law. It's a question of fact for the jury whether or not the individual did what they're accused of.
And of course, being a judge takes a lot of not only legal knowledge, takes a lot of interpersonal skills, patience, listening well, of course. And I know
I think so.
I know that you grew up as an Eagle Scout, right? You learned some of those skills.
That's true. I do relate that. Back when I became an Eagle Scout, you had to learn a variety of subjects. citizenship in the nation, citizenship, which are basically government issues. Of course, you go into, totally off life-saving merit badge, but you get a broad background and you learn respect. And so I hope that's what I've brought to the bench. It's a lifelong learning process. I don't say I'm done with it. Learning criminal is always, there is always new cases coming out. And potentially, more importantly, obviously, the criminal cases have to do with the individual's right to freedom. So you got to get those absolutely right. Yeah. So far, I've never been overturned on a criminal case. Matter of fact, out of the 104 or 5 trials I've done, I've only been overturned once. And that, unfortunately, was a collection case for one of the casinos. So it was kind of unusual. We retried it in the same decision, but anyway.
Well, that's an impressive record, though. I mean, 1 out of 100 is pretty impressive. But I assume you still know how to make a fire out in the wild.
I still remember all that. I remember how to tie knots. I remember a lot of that. And that's what's sort of unusual, is that you do remember some of that stuff. You were taught at an early age, and it was important. I went to camps where you were more or less learning survival techniques, how to start a fire without anything, no matches.
Yeah, that's a handy skill. You never know when you're going to.
No, I wouldn't say it's that one, right? That handy, but yeah, it teaches you a lot about life, and that's what I think I acquired from it. Yeah,
in Nevada, we have a judicial college that works, and one of the things they do is train new judges or to become judges, and it's kind of a continuing education thing. And I know that you spent some time up in at Reno at the National Judicial College taking classes, and I was just wondering how helpful that is.
Well, absolutely. We have what's called the National Judicial College, and people from all over the country, and matter of fact, all over the world, come there to take courses. Nevada requires that a new judge take a minimum of a 2-week course along with a week of ethics, or an additional week of ethics. It's up in Reno, and it is vital. You learn a lot of things about the practical areas of becoming a judge. I tried a lot of cases before I became a judge, but you learn a lot of things having to do with the regular docket, how to make your calendar go quickly, how to resolve cases without trials. That's very important. We could not possibly try all our cases. I currently have over 1,000 cases on my docket. And although we have one of the highest pro rata number of cases in the country, we handle it through techniques aside from taking cases to trial. We have short trials, we have mediation, we have arbitration, and of course we have judicial settlement conferences. I went to the National Judicial College, I think it was last year, for a week-long course in doing settlement conferences. So over those 10 years, I continue to take courses there, specifically regarding being a better judge.
We're doing this TV interview. I'm sitting here at home, but I noticed that you're in your office.
Yeah, I am, other than a couple weeks where we had to quarantine because of an exposure in our department. Because I have a criminal calendar, matter of fact, I have one in a little over an hour, it's better to do it in person. I'll give you an example. While I was out doing it via video, at home, my cable went out. So in the middle of a session with people who were incarcerated, the screen went blank. So they have the right to be present, and it did create problems. We had to do all of the cases that hadn't been done, of course, over again. We had to notice everybody again, and that's the defendants, the state, the defense counsel, whether it's PD or private. It's difficult. So it's much better, even though, and we wear masks. I wear a mask even on the bench. It's required in the Regional Justice Center now. I'm in my chambers. I have the door closed and locked so nobody can come in. But otherwise, I'm wearing a mask even to walk down the hall. It's not convenient, but it's required.
Yeah, I mean, these are really just different times over at the courthouse.
Absolutely. There's not a lot of people. We are still open to the public. We have to be when it comes to criminal. We're an open society, but given the fact that the defendants who are in custody are doing it over video, it makes it somewhat safer.
Do you have any idea when things will return to quasi-normal?
Well, the biggest problem is no one, and I say myself, the chief judge, wants to have the responsibility of bringing jurors in and sitting them in a jury box, which was not invented for 6 feet apart. And in fact, to do that, I don't know how it would happen, because our entire courtroom would have to be jurors seated 6 feet apart. And then how is it open to the public? Who's going to volunteer to come in, even wearing a mask? It's going to be difficult. The courtrooms they're not that huge. So when we bring in a potential jury, generally, we're bringing in 60 to 80 people. The entire courtroom, pursuant to the fire marshal, only seats, I think, 80. So it's impossible.
As we're speaking, we're in the middle of a primary election. Also a little bit unusual because everything basically is mail-in, right?
Absolutely. Mail-in primary, and I tend to think that the general will be the same way. I don't know.
I got my ballot this week. I have spent 43 years in this profession. I looked at, and it's basically judges that are running. I looked at my ballot, and there was, I don't know, maybe 40, 50% of the names on that ballot that I didn't even know. It must be very difficult for a judicial candidate to run, because you're running a countywide race, and voters really don't know much about the candidates. So how do you get around that?
Well, it's difficult, and it's made harder with COVID. There's, I think, 130 some candidates running for judicial office. Several years ago, and much to my consternation, they put all of the judicial races statewide at the same time. So there are in Clark County 58 judicial openings along with the Supreme Court. There are, 28, I think, in family court, 26 in family court, and of course the 32. And it's difficult. We have had the issue in front of the electorate, whether to vote or to appoint judges. And the citizens in Nevada have resoundingly several times turned that down, including, I think, about 6 years ago. So this is how we do it.
You make a great point. And in ending, I would just like to say that the voters want to elect judges. And that's great. We have a state where that is allowed. Some states it's not. And therefore, it's the voters' responsibilities to find out about our judges, to talk to them, to meet them, to research them. And it's programs like this are one source, one way of doing it. And I know because it's difficult for you to get out and shake hands because you don't do that anymore.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. And I want to thank you for having us, as many as you can. I know it's difficult. And as I said, with 130 some, there's no way you can do it with everybody. You can go to the websites.
Well, thank you for all your hard work, District Court Judge Ron Israel. And I was going to ask you, but I ran out of time because I know there's another very famous Ron Israel in this country, right? It's a chef or a baker or something.
There's a couple. One is in New York and is famous for, I think, donuts. And then there's another, somebody, with the same name.
But you're famous for donuts now to your jury. So you guys are.
Jurors love it.
All right. Thank you, Judge Israel. We'll be right back with a candidate, Mickey Bohn.
Was your restaurant or business ordered to close by the government during the coronavirus pandemic? Call Ed Bernstein for a free business insurance policy review. You may be eligible to make a business interruption claim. Ed Bernstein and Associates, 702-240-0000.
The world is going through challenging times, and it's changing the way that we live and the way we do business. There will be hockey games and celebrations and fun times with friends and family. Kids will go back to school, and there will be graduations again. But in the meantime, we are trying to adapt to our new normal. Bernstein and Associates is still here doing what we've always done, and that's being present for our community. If you've been hurt, call me or go to our website. My team and I are here for you 24/7, and that will never change.
Well, welcome back. With me now is judicial candidate Mickey Bohn. And look, you've been an attorney for quite a while. Why the desire to become a judge?
2 weeks from today is going to be my 61st birthday. I'm a child of the 60s. And growing up in the 60s, I remember seeing recorded, I was too young when he was inaugurated, but John Kennedy's inauguration speech. They always show the same part. He says, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you do for your country." And as a young boy, I said, public service, that sounds like the thing to do. I also wanted to be an attorney since I was young. And when I graduated law school, I was fortunate shortly after I moved back to Las Vegas in 1984, I got a job working for Mirror and Shearing. And watching what she did and how she did it and how important it was, I realized with a law degree, that was the public service I could do. And I decided then I wanted to be judge. But I also, from what I saw, knew that I needed a lot of experience in order to do the job correctly. And I've been practicing for 36 years. I got the experience now. That's why I'm moving forward.
Well, you have a wide breadth of experience, in all kinds of cases. You've handled basically everything.
A lot, yes. I've got 19 reported decisions with the Nevada Supreme Court, with ranging. Lately, it's been a lot of HOA and real estate matters, but I've done workers' compensation, personal injury, vexatious litigants, privileges, medical malpractice.
You've done it all, no question. And when you worked for Judge Shearing at that time, if I recall correctly, she was our first female Supreme Court justice.
Well, right. She was the first female justice of the peace.
Right.
I worked with her second year as the first female district court judge. And then she did go on to become our first female Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
And it was an inspiration working for her.
You grew up in Vegas, correct?
I moved here in 1970, 50 years ago. I was 11 years old. I went to junior high and high school here. I joined the Boy Scouts. I became an Eagle Scout. We didn't have a law school here, so I moved out of town for college and law school. Yeah. And I moved back here in January 1984, and I've been here ever since.
go to high school?
I was a freshman the first year Chaparral was open.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, no, I just did an interview with Judge Israel. He was also an Eagle Scout.
I did not know that about him.
Yeah. So, I mean,
We'll talk about it next time I see him.
yeah, it prepares you for being a judge in a lot of ways. I think it does, as far as, being able to be independent and have patience and being a good listener.
I think so. It was a very good opportunity. I met a lot of very nice people, both people I'm still friends with today, as well as adults and mentors who made a big influence in my life. But, Boy Scouts and the Eagle Scout thing was very influential for me. And I'm very glad that I did it, and I recommend it for anybody. I have a client who just told me his son just recently made Eagle Scout, and very proud of his son also.
So now that you're running for district court judge, how would you like to be known?
As a judge, you've been in this town a long time. Attorneys are deemed by the public by how rich they are or how smart they are. I mean, there's no dumb attorneys. And I never want to be thought as the smartest attorney or the best attorney or the richest attorney. I always wanted to be known as a competent attorney that was fair, that was easy to work with. And I think I do have that reputation. And that's the reputation I'm going to want to have when I get on the bench. I've easily appeared before over 100 judges. Some of them are very good, some of them not so good. But even the good ones, get overturned on appeal, but they try hard and they work hard and they do their best to get the decision right the first time. And that's the same thing I will strive to do if I get on the bench. So.
And when you think about those judges that you respected, in addition to working hard, did they have any other common characteristics?
Well, judicial temperament, obviously, just being patient with people, being nice to people. Even when the judges rule against me, but they smile and say thank you, that's always a big plus. And sometimes you go into court with a loser, and you know it's a loser. Sometimes you go in thinking you're going to win, you walk out losing. And, sometimes you have to file the appeal in order to win. But as long as the judge treats you fairly with respect, I treat them fairly with respect back. And I try to do the same thing with opposing counsel. And I'm looking forward to helping attorneys with their courtroom demeanor and having to how they deal with other attorneys in court. To me, civility amongst attorneys is very important.
When you first started practicing law, it seemed it was much more civility, much more camaraderie between lawyers, and I mean that what I'm saying is there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a positive thing. Is that you handle a case, it's not personal, and you treat the opposing attorney with respect, and oftentimes you can resolve things with a handshake and a telephone call. It doesn't seem to be that way anymore.
It depends a lot on the attorney. I will tell you, in the last several years, I've had several clients who were investors who bought a lot of foreclosures when the HOAs were foreclosing. And I come across the same attorneys on the other side all the time. And that group of attorneys have been very civil with each other. But when I handle my case that are not within that realm, yes, again, it's dog eat dog. I like the old joke, they say that the criminal attorneys act civil, but the civil attorneys act like criminals. And one of my goals as judge is going to be try to convince attorneys to be more civil and to cooperate better. It doesn't help to fight yourself. You're supposed to fight the case, not the other attorney.
Mickey, I've done a couple of these shows over the last few weeks with judicial candidates, and I can't think of a more difficult election than the one we're currently going through. You can't really campaign. You can't go out and shake hands and meet people and knock on doors. This is a tough election to really stand out. How do you expect to do that?
It has been difficult. I have a presence on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm fortunate because I'm in the real estate field. I have a number of clients that have multiple rental properties. So I've actually been going around. I've enjoyed driving around Las Vegas, putting my yard sign up in properties that they own. And I've been to parts of town I haven't been to in years. I've been to parts of town I haven't been to at all. And I've enjoyed going to all these neighborhoods and just seeing the pride that the people have in their own properties in the various areas of town. But I've been trying to get my yard signs out as much as I can. I've been told that if a neighbor sees a sign in their yard, they're going to say, "Oh, well, he must like that candidate. I'll vote for him also." So I'm hoping that's how it does. The primary, as you know, is June 9th. Hopefully things will get lifted by then. Some of the groups are now starting to do Zoom meetings. So I'm going to be doing some Zoom meetings the next couple of weeks prior to the primary. And hopefully after the primary, I'll be able to go out and shake hands and meet people again. I've enjoyed doing that, meeting the people in person. My wife loves going out and meeting new people all the time. She's a real social butterfly and just loves meeting new people. And I enjoy it also. So I'm looking forward to being able to do that again. And I do appreciate having me on your show. This is another way to get out there and let people know that I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, thank God for social media, because we'd be lost without it at this point. But it's also, it's extremely difficult. I was telling Judge Israel, I got my ballot, and there's a lot of judges, a lot of candidates running for judge, and some of which, I don't even recognize the names. You're somebody that's been in town for a long time. You have a record, you have a history, you have a good reputation. So I hope that rewards you.
I do. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you having me on your show. The race I'm in is the most crowded race there is. There's 5 candidates for the office, and it's been difficult to get endorsements because they want to wait till after the primary. But I was fortunate this last weekend, the Review Journal did endorse me. And the one area of experience that they noted in their column was I've been a court-appointed arbitrator for over 25 years now. And I'm grateful to the RJ for giving me that endorsement. I've also been practicing more than twice as much as any of the other candidates. I think the other candidates have been practicing for between 14 and 17 years. I've got twice that much time as the other ones.
Well, there's no question about that, and good luck, and thank you for showing up on our show today.
Thank you for having me on your show, Ed.
Take care.
Was your restaurant or business ordered to close by the government during the coronavirus pandemic? Call Ed Bernstein for a free business insurance policy review. You may be eligible to make a business interruption claim. Ed Bernstein and Associates, 702-240-0000.
When sorry is not enough. Enough said. Call Ed. EdBernstein.com.
Was your restaurant or business ordered to close by the government during the coronavirus pandemic? Call Ed Bernstein for a free business insurance policy review. You may be eligible to make a business interruption claim. Ed Bernstein and Associates, 702-240-0000.